Bada bing, bada boo.
This is the case of Madeline Soto. Jennifer Soto and her boyfriend Stephen Stearns are sitting in front of the camera. They're talking to Fox 35. They're talking to all the local news networks that are calling them. Jennifer is doing a Zoom call with Fox 35 from, it appears to be her kitchen. Her boyfriend Stephen is sitting right behind her. So this is interesting. He's not really sitting right behind her, as in they're both doing the interview. He's just kind of in the background.
My boyfriend who drove her to school drove away at that point. I went to pick her up after school, and she wasn't there. I'm scared for her. I want her to be okay. I want her to be safe. I don't want her to come back harmed.
For such an agonizing situation, Jennifer seems to be, at best, holding it in very well. She's collected for the media interviews, maybe too collected.
If you see my daughter, just please bring her home. I just hope you're okay, Maddie. I hope you're safe. I hope you're not hurt.
For this news station, Stephen Stearns also does an interview. His eyes are really red. He's clearly, at least visually, he seems more emotional than Jennifer does. It's not a contest, but he seems somewhat distraught to the point where the reporter starts. You seem emotional. Explain to us what happened.
I dropped her off. Everything looked fine when I drove away. It's the last time we saw her. We don't know where she could be. And we're scared. We just want her home.
Stephen says he even went out with the cops to search for her. And was her body language off when you dropped her off at school? Happy. She had a happy weekend. She just turned 13. She had her 13th birthday party Sunday, and this was Monday that she goes missing. That day, a missing persons report is filed for Maddie, a day after her birthday party, and actually 4 days after her actual birthday, when she turned 13. The incident report reads, February 26, 2023, at approximately 8 a.m., Jennifer observed and last saw Maddie getting dressed for school. Stephen Stearns takes Maddie to school, dropping her off near the intersection of Town Loop Boulevard and Hunters Park Lane at approximately 8:30 a.m. The official written statement that Jennifer writes by hand for the police is, today around 8 a.m., I saw Maddie getting ready for school. I'm not sure what time they departed. Stephen Stearns took her to school and dropped her off close to the school at around 8:30 to 8:45 a.m. She never made it to school. I went to pick her up at around 4 p.m. to pick her up, and she never came out. I searched the area, went to my mother's office to look for Maddie, and could not find her. The officers are going through the incident reports, and there are so many things that don't make sense. Over the course of 48 hours, multiple different detectives have spoken with Jennifer, and something is not adding up. When authorities walk through Monday morning with Jennifer, not once does she mention seeing Maddie. But previously, she explains seeing Maddie getting ready for school Monday morning, and even describes in detail what Maddie wore to school that day on Monday, which she dressed herself to go to school in on Monday. And in the initial report, she writes that she saw Maddie.
Yeah.
The officer questions her about that. When you reported her missing, you remember writing a statement? Yes. In that statement, you say you saw Maddie. I know. I misremembered. I didn't see her.
I was handed this form, and I'm like, where do I start? What do I write? And somebody said, tell them what you saw. And so I started with, I saw. And then I wrote out what I wrote out. But it wasn't until later I was like, wait, I didn't see her. I assumed that I saw her. I assumed that I heard her. But I didn't. In reality, I didn't see her.
So that means the last time Jennifer Soto might have seen her child Maddie was Sunday night, the night before at 11 p.m. That's like almost a, 10-hour discrepancy. Which means, how do we know if any other part of this report or timeline is factual, is true? The police pull all of the street cameras, and his movements aren't making any sense. They're not making sense at all. In fact, he and Maddie just drive around for about 2 hours, and then she just vanishes out of his car. The security cameras track him. He comes back to the complex to trash something. Inside the trash can, they go through the dumpsters. Authorities find a white trash bag. Oddly, everything inside is covered in gray paint. It's like someone poured a canister of paint in there. They find a black Hawaiian print backpack and one singular white crock, Maddie's size. Inside the backpack is Maddie's school laptop with her name on there. This is Maddie's backpack. Why would Stefan throw away Maddie's backpack with her school laptop, especially if he is on his way to drop her off at school that morning? And there are just other small, strange little moments that make the officers go, what is going on? They just pause. For example, when the officers want to go pick up an article of clothing that Maddie has worn that has her scent for the dogs to track, Stefan offers, what about a pillow she likes to sleep on? Jennifer looks at him. Yeah, but you slept on that pillow this morning. Oh, that's right. I snuggled with her pillow. I mean, the setup of the house, it's a 4-bedroom house. One room is on the first floor along with the kitchen and the living room. That bedroom, the first bedroom, is occupied by Jennifer. Then you go upstairs, you have 3 more bedrooms. Outside each room, there are numbers, literal numbers hanging on the walls. Number 2, number 3, number 4. So 2 and 3 are rented out by 2 female roommates. Number 4 used to be empty, but it's on and off again Stefan's room. When he's not sharing Jennifer's room, he's in room number 4. It could be considered a guest room. So where's Maddie's room? In the living room. There's these 2 room dividers just haphazardly set up in the middle of the living room. That's Maddie's room. Behind this partition is Maddie's bed, a dresser, a nightstand, some of her clothes. It's just 2 partitions. It's not at all private, which I'm sure is pretty important to the development of a 13-year-old girl. It's kind of strange. It's odd, especially when you consider the fact that room number 4 was relatively empty most of the time. So why not just use it as Maddie's room? She talks about her experience being a mom. I was hyper vigilant as hell, as a mom, because I was like, never trust a man, never trust anyone, not even my dad, right? Like, never trust anyone. I even had a rule for the longest time. Maddie would want sleepovers and I would be like, no, absolutely not, because I have no control. No sleepovers, no nothing for a very long time, for years. But according to Jennifer, Maddie would always ask if she could have a sleepover, because she wanted to watch movies and eat snacks. Eventually, Jennifer gets tired of saying no. And you know what? She thinks it would be nice to have Maddie do sleepovers so that Jennifer could get a good night's rest, because they sleep in the same bed all the time, right? That's how Maddie's sleepovers, quote, sleepovers, that's what Jennifer calls them. That's how Maddie's sleepovers with Stefan start. With her own mother, Jennifer, encouraging them to go upstairs to the guest bedroom for a sleepover. The night before Maddie goes missing was a sleepover. Is it normal for both of them to sleep in the same room? Sometimes, when I really need a good night's sleep, I'll send them upstairs. But also, a lot of times we will all sleep together in the king-size bed, all 3 of us. Or sometimes Stefan will go upstairs, Maddie and I will sleep in our bed alone. It just really depends on what's going on, that night with our schedules and what we're doing. So she's explaining that normally it's the 3 of them on her king-size bed. But the order, that's already, I'm calling somebody, okay? I'm already calling somebody, but the order of the sleeping arrangements is even weirder. It's Stefan, Maddie, Jennifer. Jennifer continues that Maddie would sleep in the middle of the bed when the 3 of them would share the bed. And the officer asks, did you ever wake up and find them cuddling or find them closer than you thought they should be?
They would snuggle, yeah.
Okay.
But we all snuggle. I didn't think that was abnormal.
What is snuggling to you? Because to me, snuggling, spooning, big spoon, little spoon.
He would lay down like this and she would be right here in the nook.
Literally how couples snuggle.
So bizarre.
What kinds of clothes do you guys sleep in? Stefan would sleep in his t-shirt and boxers. Sometimes he would have pants on.
Okay, so they would snuggle, sometimes him being in his boxers. You would wake up and she'd be in the nook of his arm, essentially in a cuddling position. And you never found that weird? No. Okay.
Now, the weird thing is, Jennifer doesn't even have work on Monday. She's off Monday and Tuesday. But I guess she really needs her sleep. She sends her 13-year-old daughter to go upstairs with her boyfriend, straight to room number 4. That room is relatively empty except for a few things. 37-year-old Stefan, 13-year-old Maddie, a gun in the dresser, and a tube of masturbation cream. Okay. And what's crazy is when this takes place, they're not even dating. They are broken up. So she sends her daughter upstairs with her ex-boyfriend. So the police decide, okay, let's go talk to Maddie's 7th grade counselor. She would meet with Maddie a few times during the school year to check in and do these little check-ins with her. It's not until Maddie brings up Stefan and she tells her counselor, I don't like him. He's weird. What do you mean he's weird? Can you explain more about that? He just eats all our food and hangs out in our living room. Just makes me feel uncomfortable, that's all. But when Stefan moves out at around November of 2023, Stefan would periodically visit for weekends, for weeks at a time. And again, he and Jennifer are not dating. So it's extra weird. Maddie tells her counselor that because Stefan is moving out, she's really happy about that. The very last check-in was done at February 6, 2024, and Maddie's grades are up. Her relationship with her mom seemed to be getting better. Everything seems to be getting better. And then Stefan, out of nowhere, decides he's going to visit for Maddie's 13th birthday. Let's go through Stefan's phone. That's what the authorities are thinking. Stefan tells authorities, it's actually a silly, goofy little story. The thing is, earlier on Monday, the day that Maddie went missing, he's so dumb. He tried to update his phone to the newest software, and he's just so bad with technology that he was clicking around with a few buttons and it completely factory reset his entire phone. It wiped out all of his contacts, all of his files, all of his pictures, everything was gone, which is just so frustrating. They take his phone and they look. They look and they recover some files. In fact, when they go on his phone, his Google Drive starts syncing and it just starts re-downloading everything that was in his Google Drive. And they go through it and they find 90 pictures of the roommate, unclothed in her room and bathroom. And it is clear that she has no clue that Stefan had been taking pictures without her consent. He put his camera under her door. Authorities dig deeper into his phone, and they find recent searches in the past few weeks for something called sevoflurane. Sevoflurane is an anesthetic that's used for general anesthesia. You go to the hospital, they knock you out with substances like sevoflurane. There's no reason for Stefan to be searching that term. And additionally, he searched this anesthetic along with the phrase, "show up on drug test?" ? Now the police are more intrigued. They dig deeper into his phone and they get access to a Google Drive and they start downloading all of the files on there. About 1,700 images of CSAM, child abuse material. Files upon files, images and videos of Maddie's private parts, as well as pictures and videos of Stefan essaying Maddie. In one, Stefan is seen wearing a red and white Deadpool shirt. There's another one where Stefan's face is fully visible and he is assaulting Maddie. Eventually, they'll find 35,000 files of CSAM. It's unclear if it was just of Maddie, likely not. So initially, they got videos and pictures dating back to 2022, but it is likely much further. It is believed that the abuse dates back to when Maddie was just 8 years old, so for the past 5-ish years. One video shows an 8-year-old Maddie. The description from the court document is, he in the video is essaying Maddie by telling her that she must place his privates in her mouth for 3 seconds while he counts, or else she will lose her phone privileges unless she does this. In some of the pictures and videos, Maddie appears to be sleeping. So according to police reports, the CSAM and abuse was perpetrated in Stefan's room, the guest room upstairs, as well as Maddie's partitioned room in the living room. The authorities have to go through the very difficult task of telling Jennifer about all of this. And it's so interesting because when you watch all of the interrogation tapes of when she is confronted with this information that Stefan has been abusing Maddie since she was potentially just 8 years old, Jennifer's reactions are very strange, evidenced by a 3-hour-long police interrogation. Somehow 5 minutes later, she also has the mental capacity and emotional space to giggle about Disney. She says, my sister used to be a character performer as well. She had to quit because she kept getting Donald Duck and his butt was really heavy and it kept hurting her back. This is a few days after Maddie is missing and she realizes that she has been abused. There are 2 moments in the interview that Jennifer shows the most emotion. The first being when the detective asks for her date of birth and she says March 2nd. This interview takes place March 1st and she starts breaking down and says this is going to be the worst birthday ever.
Wow.
Maddie went missing 4 days after her birthday.
Birthday's tomorrow. Right.
Today's the 1st. I didn't even know.
Secondly, the detective says, now listen to the wording, it's very interesting. You know your daughter has been victimized for a long time, right? Now you know that your daughter has been victimized for a long time, right? Under your roof, with you home most likely, because you said you're always home. I can tell you today, we are still downloading his Google Drives. We are still going through his social media, his cloud-based servers, and everything else. We can now piece back her victimization in your house under your care to 2020. So when I ask, they've woken up cuddling, did you find things suspicious? Do you have an open relationship? Has he talked to you? Has he made inappropriate statements? It's almost like cheating, right? Have you ever been cheated on? We're looking at a minimum of 3.5 years that this has been going on, where I'm sure you guys are active. This is where Jennifer Soto starts breaking down. Some netizens think that the detective's words are finally clicking on how long this has been going on under her roof, but most netizens believe no. It seems like the cheating part gets to her. When he brings up cheating, that's when you see her face get tense and she starts showing a visceral reaction. It feels like speculative, of course, but she is emotional because she feels like he cheated on her rather than the fact that he's been abusing her daughter. She's asked again, what do you think happened? You know, authorities are trying to get her to understand that they believe that Maddie is likely dead by this point and that she has not been taken. Whatever happened, Stefan most likely 1,000% knows and is involved, and maybe even Jennifer knows as well. That's what they're trying to figure out. She's like leaned back all the way on the couch. Her hands are in the pockets of her hoodies, and she's like, I guess he could have choked her. I don't know how there wouldn't be evidence though. I guess he could have dumped her body in Northport. She continues to say things like dump her, stash the body. She keeps referring to her daughter as the body, saying things like he stashed the body, then came back.
I feel like he stashed the body at that time. How could you move a body or move something in daytime and not be seen? I feel like he went back to check, to make sure he did a good job, or to move the body again.
It's just the whole interrogation or interview is very bizarre. Earlier in the interview, though, she mentions that Stefan always lies to his parents. He steals from his parents, which, by the way, his parents are a big part of this case now. They've been doing interviews, and we're going to go over that in part 2. He lies to his parents, steals from his parents, is always manipulating his parents. When detectives confront her, like, what do you mean you just trusted him and never thought he would do something like that when you have said nothing positive about his character? You say he has bad judgment, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, oh, well, I trusted him. What made you trust him? It doesn't make sense. She just argues, well, yeah, lying to them, his parents, yes, but lying to me? I never thought he would do that. She also asks when she's going to get her laptop back because she has 10 years worth of pictures of Maddie in there that she really wants to print out because all of her pictures of Maddie are digital, which again, the officers don't even know what to say because the way she's asking is so nonchalant. But also, should she not be more focused on bringing her daughter back versus her laptop and figuring out where her daughter is? The officers, they don't like her reaction. They tell her, we are literally having a conversation about Maddie possibly being dead and you have yet to shed a tear. And what does self-proclaimed hypervigilant mother Jennifer do once she finds out that Stefan has been abusing her daughter? She sends a text message to Stefan's father. Get Stefan a lawyer now. Moreover, after she gets out of the police station, she goes to meet up with Stefan's dad, and he says, I'm expecting her to just blow up, start beating the shit out of me, scratching me, chew my ass out. None of that. Instead, she tells Stefan's dad, unprovoked and just seemingly randomly, that because of her medications that she's taking for bipolar, she has not been intimate with Stefan, so he is very frustrated.
What is happening?
Yeah. In part 2, we're going to be going over where they find exactly what happened, because the CCTV footage shows Maddie in the passenger seat with her seatbelt on, slumped to the side in the same exact position since 7:30 till 9:41. Her position does not change. At 9:41 a.m., he drives into a parking complex, backs his vehicle into a parking space. He gets Maddie's body out, carries her from the passenger seat and places her into the trunk of the car, and then drives back home. Maddie was sitting in the passenger seat with her seatbelt on, already dead. And there are so many questions now because Maddie has been seen slumped in Stefan's car for almost 2 hours. Monday morning, what was he doing? What was he trying to do? Why is he driving around for 2 hours? And more importantly, where is Maddie now? But also, why is Jennifer's reaction to this information so strange? Why is her reaction to everything so unsettling and so odd? So with that being said, that is it for today's episode. Stay tuned for part 2. And please stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.